These 3 bikes are broken. These ones aren't even rideable, and actually I'm gonna save this one for last because when you see what is wrong with the rear hub, you're gonna wonder how it even happened. That's freak nasty. Let's get that trail bike on the stand. This bike is shifting rough, and that is notable because this bike is brand new. We just gave it to Daniel in a previous video on the main channel, and I think I already know what's wrong with it. On a brand new bike, all the cables are installed in the factory, and the housing ends get compressed in, and the cable gets looser over a few weeks of riding it. That's why a lot of bike shops offer a free first tune-up. So all we have to do is tighten the cable a little bit. So you can see as we shift here to larger gears, it kind of skips and catches for a second. I'm just gonna turn this barrel out a little bit on the shifter. That's gonna put more tension on the cable. And now watch what happens. Every gear shifts perfectly. So we literally didn't even need any tools to do this, but what we're gonna do is loosen the cable back up and actually tighten it here so that we still have all that play in the barrel. Looks good. All right, next bike. By now you've probably noticed this bike has 2 flat tires, but that's not even the worst of it. There's actually a broken spoke back here. Specifically, it looks like a broken spoke nipple, and actually if we rotate the wheel and listen very carefully, we can hear that broken piece of spoke nipple rolling around inside the rim. You hear that? We're gonna have to fish that out of the wheel. Okay, so we are gonna remove the rim tape to gain access to the wheel. And this is not really rim tape, it's just a liner. And now, as I said, we have to actually fish out that little piece of spoke nipple. Wouldn't it just fall out? Well, not necessarily. These are double-walled rims, and so if you look at them closely, there's actually 2 layers of aluminum with a gap in between, and you can hear it rolling around inside of there. And so we have to kind of fish it out. Not a whole lot of science to it. Oh, there goes. And there you have it. Now that's something that you do not want to see happen to your nipple. Okay, let's throw it up on the truing stand. So we can plainly see here the wheel is out of true. It's wobbling left and right because a spoke snapped, and that's normal. If a spoke snaps, there's a part of the wheel that doesn't have proper tension, and so it's gonna get out of true. And so let's see if this spoke is okay, and maybe we can just replace this nipple. Now, it's also worth noting that the hole in the rim is perfectly fine. Sometimes when a spoke pulls out, it actually tears this open and your hoop is trash. This one we can reuse, and so I just have to find a nipple that fits that. So this is a used spoke nipple from another wheel, got it out of the parts bin. It does not match in color, but adds character. So let's install it and get it up to tension. That is straight as an arrow. Now, there was another problem with both wheels, flat tires. Now, when that happens, you want to check and see how it happened because it can tell you a lot of things. Now, this type of flat is called a snake bite because a snake has those fangs and it kind of punctures it in 2 spots. That's actually where it pinched onto the rim. It's also known as a pinch flat. And you're gonna find this flat on the inside of the tube, 2 little slits. So by that, we know that he hit a really hard square edge rock or a curb or something like that. Now we wanna check the rim to see if it got damaged in that spot. How do we know what spot it was on the rim? Well, we know where the valve stem was, and we know that it's about 2 inches away from it. And so we can just go over to our wheel over here, find the hole for the valve stem, and look 2 inches away. And yeah, there's a little scratch there, but the rim's okay, so we are clear to proceed with the rest of the repair. So seeing that he very likely got a snake bite in both of his wheels, we're gonna convert these wheels to tubeless. Now, I have this tubeless kit over here by Milk It, and it gives us everything we need to get started. Converting to tubeless means you tape over the rim, then we're gonna install our valve stem. You put some sealant inside of it, and you don't run inner tubes. When you're not running inner tubes, it's a lot harder to get a snake bite because you'd have to get a snake bite on the tire itself. You can run lower pressure, and the bike just performs a little bit better overall. Now, what we want to happen is for this tire to expand and pop onto the bead, and we will literally hear a pop. There we go. So we have fixed the spoke, everything's all straight, the tire is tubeless now, and we can move on to the front wheel. Now we can kind of hear air escaping. We want to just get the sealant everywhere in the tire, and that will stop. All right, next bike. So you might be thinking all these bikes look really familiar. That's because they were all in another video, same owners. You're gonna have to watch that to get the details. All you have to know right now is that this bike has a boatload of problems, way too many to address all in this video, but I'm gonna show you the two main ones, starting with the chain. It's all twisted up and destroyed, so we're just gonna replace it. We're gonna need to align the derailleur hanger and do a number of other things here, but I wanna focus on the biggest problem, this rear hub. I can just feel it moving around, and something tells me it's not just loose. And so I bought a new rear axle. Let's see what is going on in here. So being that I'm the type of guy that plans ahead, I've got a tray underneath the hub so that when I take it apart, we catch whatever falls out of it. We don't want to be looking around the floor. That's freak nasty. The axle is cracked clean in half. How did that happen without the bike cracking in half on a Trek Marlin 4? Yeah, it used to be like this. Should we just weld it back together and save the $8? I hope it's obvious we have to replace this axle. So I'm gonna remove this freewheel so that we can get to all the ball bearings. We're gonna take everything out of this hub and clean it up. So we're gonna put these balls into 2 even piles to make sure we have inventory here. Looks like we're down 1. Where could that be? I don't understand how we could be missing a bearing. I mean, the axle only cracked in half. There's no way it could have fallen out or something. So let's let this stuff soak and go on over to the hardware store. Not looking good. There it is, 1/4 inch. Yep, we got it. They're actually not in the bag anymore. This is hands down the slipperiest thing you can buy at the hardware store. We're in business. It's the most difficult possible way to do this. Yeah, in real life, people do this. That is filthy. All right, we're gonna stick this axle together. Got a little grease on there for starters and put the outer bearing race on. This is a cassette side, so there's a little spacer. Then washer, lock nut. So we got this one side on, that's gonna hold our ball bearings in as we reassemble this. Now, the way you put the hub back together is you fill it with grease and you stick the ball to the grease, and then you lock it into place with the axle, flip it over and do the other side. It's a lot less intimidating than it probably looks like. Put this filthy freewheel back on. It'll kind of pedal its way back on, but we'll give it one good crank. And finally, this is bent. Should we get a new one or should we bend it back? Let's bend it back. Yep, straight as an arrow. Okay, Hub is working, chain is good. I've got a couple of other little tasks to take care of on this bike, and we're gonna call it good. All right, we are good on derailleur hanger alignment. All right, loose headset. That bolt is a little bit messed up there. Wow, all of these bolts are in rough shape. We're gonna replace them. Now, as you may notice, we are not doing a full-on park spin upgrade or restoration on this bike. We're just trying to get it safe and running. This is not worth putting money into, not because it's like a cheap bike, but because it has a freewheel. When a bike has a freewheel, you just can only upgrade it so far, and we can't really do many meaningful upgrades that are gonna make a major difference. And so, we're just gonna get it running and put it back on the trail. This bike's got plenty of life back in it, and the owners say they're gonna pay it forwards. It's actually the exact same grips I took off, I put on. They're from the Polygon, the ones we upgraded. And that's it. The bike shifts, it's safe, rear axle's not cracked in half. That's kind of nice. And it's got some new stem bolts that aren't all rusted out, and the grips were even changed. I think we did right by this customer considering they're paying $0 plus tax. Daniel and Samuel, I would say we have to have a talk about how you guys treat your bikes. Maybe it wouldn't hurt to have a couple tools around and just check them out. But I'm glad your priorities are straight. I hope you guys learned something today, and if you didn't, I hope you at least found this entertaining. Thanks for riding with me today, and I'll see you next time. All right, this time these bikes are leaving my house for good.